Hello, you are listening to A Woman's Guide, Episode 15. Do you overindulge in food? Why do you do it? How can you overcome this habit? Today's episode is How to Overcome Overindulgence in Food, Part 1. Stay tuned. This is a woman's guide for reclaiming wholeness after sexual abuse. For all of you listening, welcome to the show. I am Simone, your confidant and guide. Thank you for tuning in. So we're going to talk about overeating today. Overeating, yes. So I think, well, maybe not all of us, but I know for sure me, within myself, I've had times where I was overeating. And I know that people overeat sometimes when they're bored, when they're disturbed, when they're angry or depressed. Because when you overeat, you eat more than you need. So it must be for an emotional reason, or something that's going on inside of you. So I thought maybe this might be a helpful, episode or something, because this is something that I can relate to. I can relate to a lot of different things. I can relate to this too. So also I wanted to identify that this habit or practice is something that we do to sabotage ourselves and our process of healing and development. So that's why it's important. We also sabotage our healing and our development by overeating. Because emotionally and physically, it's counterproductive and unhealthy for us. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So, of course, I don't know how many times I said this. Maybe I've only said this once, but when we overindulge, no, I didn't say this. I don't think I did. But when we overindulge in anything, or when we do anything to excess, it can negatively impact our physical bodies and health, just our overall wellness and wholeness. It's going to negatively impact anything we do, anything that's overdone, anything that is damaging or unhealthy. So even if you're neglecting yourself, that's too much of something. You're doing too much of something, which is not enough of something, if you understand what I mean. So that is unhealthy. Anything you're going too far to the extreme of, let's put it that way. Anything you're doing too far, or anything you're doing in extreme, it's going to be unhealthy. When you overeat, it is to eat more than is needed, or more than you should. So what happens is that this can happen as binging. Okay, you can binge, which means that you eat a lot in a short period of time. You eat a whole bunch of things. Snacks and favorite goodies and, just anything. You eat in a short period of time. And this is what a lot of people who have bulimia do as well. They binge, but then they throw up afterwards. So that's another factor too. But also you can eat large portions at a time, where you can, whenever you're having your dinner or your breakfast, you're just eating so much. You're eating so much for that one meal. It's a large portion. So that can vary. That can kind of tie in with binging as well, but I'm just saying that you're eating too much. Binging means that you're eating a lot in a short period of time, okay? But those two can be tied together. And also you're eating when you're full or satisfied. So you're ignoring your body's signal. That's overeating. That is overeating, basically. Those are the scenarios that I can come up with about overeating. So why do we do that? Why do we do this? Why do we overeat? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. We overeat and take in more than needed because it's not for hunger, like I said. It's for an emotional need or some kind of void we're trying to fill. But we do it because it's, for the first reason, it's done out of boredom. It's really done out of boredom. Like, you just feel bored or empty. You need to find something to do to make you feel quote unquote full. If you understand what I'm saying, you feel empty, you feel void. So you're trying to fill that void, but it's really an emotional void. But you're trying to fill that void with food, or it could be a spiritual void. There's something that you need a purpose, you need a reason, so all you're doing is eating to fill that void, to feel full, quote unquote full. So another reason that I want to focus on is that many do this many do this in attempt to numb their pain. Yeah, they numb their pain. They want to numb their pain. They want to numb those difficult emotions by stuffing it down with food. Yeah. We all have different ways of dealing with our emotions, and sometimes we don't do it in a productive way, but there are those of us who like to stuff down our pain with food. Stuff it down with food, and or try to fill our emptiness with food, like I just previously said. Because we want to avoid dealing with it. We want to avoid dealing with those difficult emotions, trauma. You know, maybe you do that to deal with the trauma of abuse or some kind of abuse that you experienced. You want to avoid the pain, so you just stuff it down with food, just to not deal with it altogether. Because we always look for something to soothe and comfort and pacify ourselves with some kind of pleasurable activity. And food is pleasurable. It's pretty intense. Some people use sex, right? Some people use drugs or alcohol, or some people use shopping, spending money. But of course, the problem is that it's temporary. It does not work. That's why you keep doing it. It does not work. And what happens is that when you are just stuffing your food or stuffing your emotions down with food, you're just delaying your healing and recovery. Because your healing, recovery, and your just expansion of who you are and just becoming who you are, because those difficult emotions need to come up. They have to come up. They're going to come up. They must come up. So if you keep stuffing it down, you're just delaying that emotion, and most likely it's going to get to the point where you explode anyway. So, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Now I know about this type of thing where, and it's not just within my experiences, but from things that I've watched and people I've talked to, people that I've been friends with, and I notice a lot of them just use food just to stuff down some pain or some issue or something like that. But I know specifically there's a show that I was watching, or I still watch, but I haven't watched it recently because I've been kind of busy. But a show called 600-Pound Life. I don't know if any of you heard of that. 600-Pound Life is the biggest example, or it's the biggest, I would say, proof that people who overeat, a lot of people that overeat, are trying to numb some kind of pain. They're trying to stuff something down. Because, there's story after story after story after story after story of someone who is overweight, and they always have some kind of trauma, always have some kind of abuse they've experienced, and they used food as a way to cope with those emotions or to numb their pain by eating. It's always something, always something. Because, if you're going to be 600 pounds, there must be something that you are doing where you're abusing yourself. You're abusing food. You're abusing food. So why are you abusing food? Because you have something that's going on in the inside that you don't really know how to cope with or deal with. So you stuff it down with food, and it doesn't even look like, based off of what I've seen, that they were even enjoying the eating. It was just an addiction. It was something they're doing to get their fix. Like I said, everyone has a drug of choice, right? But I've come to the understanding that, you know what, when you are overeating, and this means overeating, okay, you're not eating just enough for what you need, but you're eating more than you should. It's because there's something that you're trying to fill, there's something you're trying to numb, there's something you're trying to kill, there's something you're trying to avoid altogether. And it's an emotional problem or emotional issue. Just by watching 600 pound life for people who have a problem with overeating. And even with me, I mean, that's, you know, I never had like a serious over the top issue with overeating, but I've had phases. I've just had phases. Phases of times where I'd undereat, phases of times where I'd overeat. I just had phases with a lot of different things. So I had a phase where I was overeating, and it was with sweets. I ate a lot of sweets. I mean, I was a cookie monster. You know, and if for those of you who know what Sesame Street is, you know what I'm talking about with Cookie Monster. So, like, literally, it was a Cookie Monster. Okay? And I was doing it because I was eating these sweets and overeating these sweets because I had an emotional issue. I was depressed. I felt worthless. I felt hopeless, which is ultimately depressed. Okay? I felt empty. So it could be more than one. It doesn't have to just be two or one. It can be two. I felt empty. I felt hopeless. I felt worthless. I didn't know my purpose in life. And that's another thing too. Because I didn't know my purpose in life. And at that time I was unemployed. But I was unemployed on and off. I've always been unemployed for a while. On and off, on and off, on and off. So that was a time that I was in a weird cycle where I just wasn't working, and I was really stressed out, and I was empty, and I was depressed, and I was hopeless. And that was around the same time, if you watched a couple of videos before about personal grooming, that was the time that I wasn't brushing my teeth. You know, I just totally was neglecting myself, and I was overeating. It was not a good situation. It was not a good situation. But I can say from personal example, a lot of people, when they're overeating, it's because they're trying to fill something or avoid something. You know, they feel empty, they feel depressed, they feel hopeless, they don't feel enough, they don't feel good enough. They're trying to soothe, pacify themselves with some kind of food. And I'm telling you, food is great. I love food, but I did abuse it at some point. I don't abuse it anymore because I'm a lot more healthy, a lot more balanced and calm. And I just think I'm healthier overall, so I don't overeat. I mean, there are times where, yes, I do eat more, a little bit more than I should, but I don't go over the top like I used to, because I used to have stomach problems. I gave myself stomach problems. My digestion was bad because I was just stuffing all this sugary stuff and fattening stuff in my stomach and in my system, and my body was just like, listen, you got to stop doing that. Also, there was a time where I was just eating so much sweets. I really had phases. I had a lot of phases. Even the time that I was in college, I would eat so much sweets. Oh my god, every single morning before I would go to class, I would have donuts or danishes or cookies. I ate so much sweets that my teeth, I didn't get cavities though, thank God. I think I was beginning to get cavities, but my teeth were literally aching. They were throbbing. Every time I would have a sweet um, snack or dessert, my teeth would throb. That's why I cut down on it, because it was literally aching. Like my body was saying, listen, stop giving me so much sugar. Your body will tell you, when you're doing too much, it will tell you. It's just a matter of you being aware. So why is it not good or damaging to overindulge in food? Well, like I said, in addition to the reason that your emotions remain unresolved, they are going to remain unresolved if you keep stuffing it down. I mean, they're still going to come up, but you're not going to resolve it, right? They remain unresolved and your wounds continue to fester, and they do not and you do not heal from your trauma and pain. So that is one of the reasons. But also, it's unhealthy for the body, as you can guess. It's unhealthy for the body. It's not good for the body. It's not good for your body and yourself. So naturally, we eat to sustain and maintain our bodily functions because it is fuel for the body. We need food. We need food, but we should not abuse food. And when you abuse it, you can, I mean, if you don't know already, it creates obesity, or it causes you to be overweight. Overweight comes first and then obesity. Okay, and of course, other health problems like high blood sugar, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack. Those myriad of problems that you may experience as a result of taking in too much of what you do not need in your body is always attempting to balance itself and to adapt and cope with what it is you're doing, but it's still going to create a lot of health problems over time. And of course, if you are going to have all these health problems as a result of abusing food, it's going to significantly reduce the quality of your life. Of course. Just like I was referring back to that story, or referring back to that show about 600-pound life, those people could not walk. They could barely walk, and I'm amazed that if you are of that weight and you could still walk, I'm amazed. So a lot of these people are bedridden, and they do not have a life, and they cannot go to work, and they have to be constantly on pills, and they have to constantly be on some kind of, I don't know, thing to help them, to sustain them, or to maintain their bodily functions, to keep their heart pumping and to keep their lungs breathing. That's what happens when you overindulge, and it goes on for too long, and it becomes prolonged, and it becomes an addiction. It becomes a habit. This is what happens. Okay, so I can tell you a few ways of how to reverse this overeating situation. This is my suggestion anyway, my suggestions. First, you must develop discipline and restraint. I mean, not first. That's the only thing you can do is develop discipline and restraint. And of course, no one can teach you this skill of discipline. No one can. Only you can develop it. Only you are the one that is to develop it. And if you really want, I mean, like I said, if you have not watched that show, My 600-Pound Life, and then maybe you should watch it. See if you can find it and see what is the result of that habit or that addiction, or let's just say that behavior of overeating, and what it does to the body, and how it affects people and what they go through. Maybe you want to do that. Watch any show that features live stories, real stories about people about overeating and obesity. Sometimes you need that. You need to see what can happen. What can happen? Because, when we're doing it with ourselves, we feel like, okay, that's not going to happen with me, or I'm just invincible. Nothing can happen to me. That's what we think. That's how I think, too. I feel like I could do whatever the heck I want to do. Eat whatever the heck I want to eat, and sometimes neglect sleep, and, take too long to eat sometimes, and think that your body's going to let you get away with that over time. No. It's going to tell you, and it's going to get to the point where it's not going to be good for you. So maybe you need to scare yourself straight by watching those shows, because I believe that everyone's life has something to teach us. So if you have these people who are at the total extreme, they're here to teach us what we need to know about ourselves, or what we need to learn about our behavior. Anyway, so if you're going to eat foods, when you get to the point where you're eating foods, because you must eat, I'm not telling you to diet or fast or avoid food. No, you have to eat. So when you eat foods, you have to eat foods that are filling. Okay? Fillings that are fiber-rich foods. Because what happens with fiber-rich foods is that it is so dense and heavy It prevents you from eating a lot more than you really should. It satiates you. It makes you feel a lot more satisfied. You feel a lot more satisfied. So when you eat foods that are, let's say, bleached and processed and high fat and high sugar, high sodium foods, but low in nutrients and low in complex carbs and low in fiber, you eat a lot more of it. You eat a lot more of it because it's not, your body did not get everything it needed. So it just wants more and it wants more. And plus, scientifically, I know there's studies on this, but um, literally high fat, high sugar, high salty foods are addicting. They're very addicting. They're very addicting. It's the same way that an alcoholic becomes addicted to alcohol. It's the same thing. It does the same thing to your brain, where it just triggers certain parts of your brain and has you continually eating it or consuming it because it's highly, highly addictive. High sugar, high salty, high fat foods, highly addicting. Of course, everyone's different. Not everyone's going to be addicted, but some people are more susceptible to being addicted than other people. But I know that this is why a lot of people, they love junk food. Why do you think a lot of people love junk food? Why do you think a lot of people love chips and they love cookies and they love danishes and donuts and they love that sweet stuff, salty stuff, crunchy stuff, fried foods? We love that stuff because it's addicting. Our brains get triggered when we eat that stuff. So what you have to do is you have to process yourself to eat more foods that are healthier. Because it's like an addiction that you have to break. Like you literally have to break that addiction. And I know so because I used to be addicted. I used to be addicted to, like I think I said cookies already. Yeah, I was addicted to, sorry, my brain is just, yeah, I'm forgetting. But I said that I was addicted to cookies, but I also really liked a lot of sweet drinks too. Sugary, sugary, sugary drinks. And I realized that it wasn't having a good, response. I wasn't having a good response because I was feeling very, foggy, and I was feeling very miserable and irritated, and I was feeling very, what do you call it, nervous? Like my body would be very shaky and stuff, because sugar does that to you. It makes you very jumpy and shaky too. I knew that I was like, okay, I gotta stop doing it, but I was so addicted to it. I loved the sugary drinks. So I literally decided one day, okay, I'm gonna stop drinking juice. I'm gonna break myself out of it, and I did. And now it's like I don't really need to have sugary drinks or sweet drinks. In fact, it's just kind of like, no, I prefer water. I'll just have water because I trained myself to want to have that. I trained it. You really can train your brain to do anything you want it to do. I trained myself to not drink so many sugary things because I knew that it was making my abdomen very swollen. I knew that. And then also it just affected me emotionally and mentally. It just made me very off kilter and very weird and jumpy and miserable and forgetful too. Oh yeah, forgetful. It made me forgetful too. Because you are what you eat, You are what you eat. I mean, you're not really, you are what you eat. You're not exactly what you eat, but you know what I mean. Your food is what causes you to act a certain way or to perform. You're only as good as what you eat. Let's put it that way. You're only as good as what you eat. So when you go to the grocery store, buy only the basics. This is another point. Buy only the basics. Buy staple foods that are necessary for you to make a meal. I find that is the biggest trick in the book because with me, when I went to the grocery store, I just said, all right, I'm just going to only get what I need to make food, make a meal for me to have. I didn't go to the snack aisle. I didn't go, and this is a time when I had money. This is the time when I was pretty good for myself with the money situation. I just said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm only going to get what I need. So buy only staple foods that complete your meals or that make your meals. Do not even look or touch those foods that you have a weakness for. So if you have a weakness for chips, don't go in the snack aisle. Don't go there. Don't do that. That's temptation. If you go there, you're going to say, all right, well, just this one time, I'm going to buy this bag of chips or whatever. I'm going to buy this bag of chips. And then you end up eating the whole bag of chips. Or you end up buying 3 bags instead of one. You know what I'm saying? Don't even go there. Don't even look or touch the foods you have a weakness for. Stay away from temptation because you're trying to retrain your mind to not want that stuff. And you can, for sure. You think that you need it, but you really don't. It's a matter, it's mind over matter here. Mind is very, very powerful. Because I know for me, like, the times where I did, go to the grocery store, this is before I developed the discipline to, actually stay away from that stuff because I knew it was no good for me and I was doing too much. Um, Whenever I would go into the aisle, the cookie aisle, my gosh, I would just pick up whatever I can find. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna pick this box and pick that box, and I'm only gonna have 3 cookies or 4 cookies today, and that's it. Yeah, right. When I went home, I had the whole box. The whole box was done in an hour. You have a little box that has those little small, little crunchy cookies. Oh, I finished that. I mean, it's enough for like a family of 3 or 4 or something. But I ate that. I ate those cookies so quickly because I told you I was a cookie monster. Okay, I'm the cookie monster. I could not stay away from that temptation. So after I learned, okay, I'm not even gonna go in the aisle. I'm not even gonna go around it. So to stay away from the temptation. Stay away from the temptation. So you can get yourself unhooked. And then it's like, you just developed so much discipline, it doesn't bother you anymore. Okay? When you are eating, you must be present in your body as you eat. This is very helpful. I always talk about being present in the body. But I'm saying this because, okay, because when you are distracted by the phone, the TV, the computer, some kind of screen, or you're just distracted, your mind is distracted, you become engrossed in that activity, and then you don't realize how much you're eating. You don't realize how much you're eating. You don't. Because your mind is engrossed. So you're not aware of what your body's saying to you. You're not aware of what's going on in your body, and you're overeating. You're eating more than you should. Have you ever done that? Where you got up from whatever activity you were in, and then you realize, oh my God, I'm so full. Oh. Or I feel kind of sick because I ate too much, but I didn't realize that. Or you finished a whole box of cookies, but because you're watching a TV show where you were, looking at something funny, or you're engrossed in some kind of game, or you're texting somebody, you didn't realize how much you were eating. You're just eating, but you weren't present. So you need to be present in your body. When you're present in your body, you know when you're full. I don't know why it is. No, I do know why it is. But you're full. You realize that you're full, or you are aware, and you're seeing your food, and you're seeing how much you're eating because you're conscious. You're not going to eat so much. You're not going to eat nearly as much as when you're distracted. You get full quicker, and you are aware of how much you're putting in your body, and you're aware of the speed of which you're eating, because sometimes when you're distracted, you're eating so fast, and that's when your body cannot your body is not aware so quickly or immediately that you've had enough food being put inside of you at that time. So you eat more than your body can register how much you're putting in there. And then after, when you're done, it's like, oh, your body's like, this is too much food. It's overwhelmed. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of different factors. You notice what you're doing when you're present in your body, when you're eating. You don't eat as fast. You don't eat as much. Okay? You're able to feel fuller quicker. I notice that. When you're distracted, you're just eating, and you don't realize how much you're eating until it's too much. So do that. So make sure that you are present. Keep away from distractions. Avoid distractions while you're eating. And of course, if you have a family, if you have a family that you all sit at the dinner table together, you're all engaging each other, okay, that's a little bit different. You can still focus on your food and be present with your food. But when you are like engrossed in some kind of show or something that needs a lot of your attention, that's when you eat way more than you should. You eat a lot more than you should. Now, if you are eating because you're bored or empty, well, you must have discipline. You have to have discipline. You must create discipline. Develop restraint. So you must remove temptation from your home. That's just how it's going to go. And if you are with family, you're living with family, or you have your own family, or you're living with a partner or a life mate or whatever, and they have snacks and goodies, they have snacks and goodies that are there that you want to eat, well, you're just going to have to avoid temptation. That's it. Or you're going to have to tell them to take it away from you, or keep it close to them so that you're not tempted by it. But I would say you're just going to have to develop discipline. That's all. Develop discipline. Do something that's fun. Do something that's, I guess, find something that's fulfilling for you, because that's what you need to do. And you're just looking for food to do that. So you have to find something that's fulfilling for you, so you don't replace it with food. Okay, so that's if you're bored and empty. You're just going to have to develop discipline and find some other thing to do, something else that you can do that's fulfilling, that's actually fulfilling. Okay, now if you're eating when you're depressed, well, and suppressing difficult emotions or pain and trauma you're dealing with, then, like I said, I'm going to get to that in another video. When I'm speaking about depression, I'm going to be covering all of these different things pertaining to depression, because I think that needs to be talked about in a different episode, I believe. So that is something I'll get more into. So, but for being depressed, well, like I said, I'll get into it. I'll get into it later. Okay, so hopefully that helped you in some kind of way, and maybe gave you some insight about yourself, or about your habits, or certain things that you want to change or need to change, or I don't know, anything. Hopefully it's just something that's helpful for you in your life. Just know that this type of thing, overeating or overindulging in food, is something that can be unhealthy, and it's something that's counterproductive, and it's not really going to solve your problems or solve your emptiness or your boredom or your depression. It's just something that we use to distract ourselves temporarily, but ultimately we're just going to have to deal with what we need to deal with, and that's all. Okay, because you don't want to end up being having a serious health problem, or being very overweight to the point where you cannot even do anything that it is that you want to do, and your quality of life diminishes. So just know that this is like kind of like an idiosyncrasy that some of us have, but it's good to find better ways and healthier ways to deal with your issues. Okay? So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for listening to A Woman's Guide to Reclaiming Wholeness After Sexual Abuse. So if you enjoyed this, you can subscribe to this podcast to hear more episodes. Next week, we'll be exploring how to overcome overindulgence, and with this one, I'm going to be speaking about alcohol. So that's part 2. Be sure to tune in, and until next time, take care.